The drive reduction theory, also known as the theory of behavior, was introduced in the 1930s by an American psychologist, Clark Hull, whose works were introduced by other behavioralists. As a general learning theory, it tried to explain all behavior and the likelihood of its appearance mathematically using a set of formulas. Hull was only interested in overt behavior, yet he did not deny existence of cognitive factors like ideas, prior knowledge, intelligence, insight, and values. He based his theory on the concept of homeostasis, the idea that the body actively works to maintain a certain state of balance or equilibrium. For example, your body regulates its temperature to ensure that you do not become too hot or too cold. Hull believed that behavior was one of the ways that an organism maintains this balance. Based on this idea, Hull suggested that all motivation arises as a result of these biological needs. In his theory, Hull used the term drive to refer to the state of tension or arousal caused by biological or psychological needs. Thirst, hunger, and the need for warmth are all examples of drives. A drive creates an unpleasant state of tension that needs to be reduced. In order to reduce this state of tension, humans and animals seek out ways to fulfill these biological needs. We get a drink of water when we are thirsty, we eat when we are hungry, we turn up the thermostat when we are cold. He suggested that humans and animals will then repeat any behavior that reduces these drives. In his theory, Hull tried to explain behavior and learning through the drive reduction. Drive represents a stimulus in the form of a biological need like hunger, thirst, or cold. It is a state of need when a living organism feels the need to behave in certain ways to reduce the need and restore the optimal biological state. The drive, therefore, results in behavior to achieve a certain goal or satisfy the need. If the goal of the drive is achieved, the drive is reduced and an optimal state is restored. The drive reduction here is a reinforcer, strengthening the condition or connection between the drive and behavior. This reinforced stimulus response learning through the reduction of a biological drive was the only kind of learning according to Hull. Because of his beliefs that a living organism would repeat a behavior that would reduce a theory, his theory was also called a drive reduction theory of motivation. Hull's theory was mostly oriented on stimulus-response relationships and reinforcement. If a stimulus-response relationship is followed by a reduction of the drive, the probability of the same prior response on similar situations in the future increases. The stimulus-response relationship becomes stronger through the number of reinforcements. Biological needs were according to Hull's primary drives, but he also believed there are secondary drives, which refer to situations associated with reduction of primary drives. That means a neutral stimulus can have primary drive characteristics because it is capable of explicing responses like those caused by primary drive. To offer a full scientific explanation of learning, Hull developed a formula in which he tried to mathematically explain and predict a likelihood of behavior. This formula measures habitat strength, defined as the strength of the stimulus-response bond. Hull believed that this formula could account for all behavior in humans and animals. And as you can see, this is the formula. And SER equals V times D times K times J times SHR minus SIR minus IR minus SOR minus SLR. And SER stands for the likelihood that an organism will produce a response to a stimulus. V stands for stimulus intensity, meaning some stimuli will have greater influences than others. D stands for the drive strength, which is determined by the amount of biological depredation. K stands for incentive motivation, or the size or magnitude of the goal. J stands for the delay before the organism can seek reinforcement. SHR stands for habitat strength that is established by the amount of previous conditioning. SIR stands for conditioned inhibition caused by previous lack of reinforcements. IR stands for reactive inhibition or fatigue. SOR is the random error, and SLR stands for reaction threshold, or the smallest amount of reinforcements that will produce learning. And here are the 4 principles of this theory. Number 1 is drive is essential for responses to occur. So, for example, a student must want to learn. Number 2, stimuli and responses must be detected by the organism for conditioning to occur. For example, a student must be attentive. Number 3, responses must be made for conditioning to occur. For example, the student must be active in the classroom. And lastly, number 4, conditioning only occurs if the reinforcement satisfies a need. For example, the learning must satisfy the learner's wants. So there is the theory of behavior, or the drive reduction theory. And here are my references.